At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 11th of 19 candidate forums for the 2025 general elections in the Cayman Islands, proudly hosted by the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce. My name is Omari Corbin, and I am honored to serve as the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also pleased to be one of the panelists posing questions to our candidates this evening. Before we begin, I would like to sincerely thank the two West Bay Central candidates, Mrs. Catherine Ebanks-Wilkes and Ms. Jewel Hides, for accepting our invitation to participate in tonight's forum. By appearing together on this platform, you demonstrate a shared commitment to the democratic process and the people of West Bay Central. Your presence signals your readiness to address the pressing issues raised by the community through a recent chamber survey, which has helped shape the questions we'll be asking tonight. While time won't allow us to cover every question submitted, we will do our best to focus on the topics identified as most important to the voters in the Cayman Islands as well as in West Bay Central. When the Chamber was founded in 1965, it was built on the principles of supporting, promoting, and protecting the interests of our members and the wider community. Remaining strictly nonpartisan, we have proudly hosted these candidate forums every election year since 1988. We provided a neutral platform for 9 elections, allowing voters to hear directly from those seeking public office and helping our community make informed decisions on election day. The questions for tonight's forum have been carefully developed based on past and current chamber surveys, our 3-year advocacy agenda, and submissions from the public in various constituencies. No candidate has received these questions in advance, ensuring a fair and open discussion. As an organization committed to supporting a strong and sustainable Cayman, the Chamber's advocacy efforts focus on 3 key pillars: building a future-ready workforce, sustaining economic success, and advancing quality of life. The newly elected Chamber Council believe these pillars are fundamental to the continued growth and prosperity of our islands. Looking ahead, the Chamber intends to collaborate with the incoming government to develop a government accountability scorecard, ensuring accountability and transparency. Additionally, we will seek representation on key government boards and authorities, as we believe our members bring valuable expertise that can help shape effective policies and initiatives. These forums require months of coordination, and I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous efforts of Will and our chamber staff who have worked diligently behind the scenes. I'd also like to express our gratitude to Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for their generous sponsorship, which has made these forums possible. Additionally, we appreciate our media partners, Cayman Mall Road, Cayman Live TV, and ICCI-FM for broadcasting tonight's event. We are live streaming the forums, making it easier than ever for voters to tune in from the comfort of their homes. We hope this added accessibility encourages even greater participation in the democratic process. And now, it's time to begin. I'll turn the proceedings over to Will Panu, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, who will serve as tonight's moderator. Will outline the forum's rules and introduce our candidates from West Bay Central.
Good evening, candidates. Tonight's forum is designed to give each of you a fair opportunity to present your positions on key issues. Here are the rules. Each candidate will be asked a series of questions. You'll have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question. A bell will sound when your time is up. Please conclude your remarks promptly. Candidates will speak without interruption, and you may disagree with another candidate's view during your response time. However, all comments must be made respectfully and within the allotted time. And at the end of the forum, each candidate will have 2.5 minutes to deliver a closing statement. I'd now like to introduce the candidates for West Bay Central. We'll begin with Ms. Jewel Hides, who's running as an independent for West Bay Central. She's the daughter of Mr. Robert and Ruby Hides of Mount Pleasant, West Bay, and has a strong background in both public service and the private sector. A 1991 graduate of the Cayman Islands High School, she holds a Bachelor of Science in Accounting and an MBA from the University of Tampa. Ms. Hides is also a certified public accountant and holds additional certifications in compliance and risk management. Her professional career spans over 20 years in the financial services industry, where she has held senior roles in risk management, compliance, and auditing, and has worked with one of the top 5 international financial institutions. Ms. Hyde's public service journey began in the Legislative Assembly, now Parliament, where she worked under the Honorable Sybil McLaughlin and Mrs. Georgette Myrie. There, she developed a deep respect for the legislative process and a strong sense of civic duty. Dedicated to the betterment of her community, Ms. Hydes has actively supported Caymanians by assisting with job placement, mentoring in compliance and accounting, and teaching as an adjunct instructor at ICCI. She also organized a back-to-school talent show to promote youth engagement and has led initiatives to educate seniors about fraud prevention and financial safety. Ms. Hydes is committed to transparency, accountability, and creating meaningful opportunities for the people of West Bay Central. Her platform is grounded in service experience and a genuine drive to bring positive change to her community. Welcome, Ms. Hydes.
Thank you.
Mrs. Catherine Ebanks Wilkes is running as the Caymanian Community Party candidate for West Bay Central. Since being elected in 2021, Mrs. Ebanks Wilkes has focused on ensuring that the people of West Bay Central have access to the resources and services they need, while actively advocating for her concerns across government. Her political career began with key appointments as Deputy Speaker of the House and Parliamentary Secretary to the Ministries of Financial Services and Commerce, as well as Education, roles that provided her with broad exposure to government operations and policymaking. In 2022, she made history as the youngest Speaker of the House in Cayman's history. She previously served as Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Before entering politics, Mrs. Ebanks Wilkes worked in the legal field, starting as a paralegal with Turner, Ralston, and Maples, and later contributing to legal reform at the Cayman Islands Law Reform Commission. She also trained as an article clerk with Hampson and Company, where she gained hands-on experience in litigation and client relations. Mrs. Ebanks Wilkes first ran as an independent in 2017, driven by a genuine desire to make a difference. Encouraged by community support, she successfully ran again in 2021. Today, as a founding member of the Caymanian Community Party, Mrs. Ebanks Wilkes believes in building a more organized, efficient, and people-focused government. She is committed to creating real opportunities for Caymanians and ensuring their voices are heard. She remains a strong, approachable, and effective advocate for the people of West Bay Central. Welcome.
Thank you. Good
We're
evening.
going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, I'll introduce the panel, and they will begin the questions for this evening. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for West Bay Central. The panel for this evening will include Mrs. Joanne Lawson, immediate past president of the Chamber, and Mr. Amari Corbin, current president. I'll turn it over to Amari.
Thanks, Will. Ms. Hayes, we'll start with you for question number one. Why have you decided to run in this election, and how do you plan to represent the people of West Bay Central if elected?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Firstly, I would like to say thanks to the Chamber and its members for hosting tonight's event. And it would be remiss of me of not saying, hello, Grand Cayman, good night. As it relates to the question you asked, politics is not something that is new to me. I have assisted many candidates in the past with their political campaigns. I am running today for the unemployed Caymanian, for the retiree that doesn't have health care, for the Caymanian who is dreaming of home ownership, for families who are struggling with the cost of living. West Bay Central deserves real leadership, leadership that is committed to delivering real results and creating a positive impact in the community. For over the past 4 years, despite the incumbent being a minister for a period of time, little has been accomplished in West Bay Central. The people are feeling the weight of inaction. They are hurting and they deserve real change. I am ready to fight for West Bay Central and the Cayman Islands. I will ensure that their voices are heard, and I will ensure that the much needed progress and prosperity they need, they receive.
Thank you, Ms. Hydes. Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Thank you, Omari, and good evening to the panelists, Will and Joanne, as well as to my opponent, Ms. Hydes, and good evening to all of those viewing this evening. 4 years ago, I put myself forward to run because I felt West Bay Central needed bold leadership. And during those 4 years, I have delivered much. I have implemented a district council, rolled out a I've rolled out a seniors transport system. I've also rolled out medication delivery services, broke ground on Apple Blossom, which is an overdue housing scheme. I've provided funding for the first green space in West Bay Central. I've also rolled out enrichment programs for our children who are lacking in literacy and math. And I've also given my constituency office a legal identity to ensure that there is transparency as we function through the constituency functions. As I recollect my time as a member, one of the most vivid conversations relates to a member of cabinet who warned me against going against some of the discussions relating to the most recent changes to the National Conservation Act. And I was cautioned that if I didn't make those changes, strong opposition would be coming for me, and that special interest groups would be loading up an opponent. My position then and now remains the same. The decisions that I've made have never been about an election. The decisions that I've made have been in line with my 2021 manifesto commitment, which is to make decisions that are in the best interests of you, the Caymanian people. And that is what I've done, and that is what I'm ready to do again. So tonight, I'm looking forward to having conversations about how we move forward as a country, how the Caymanian Community Party has national priorities and plans, and how you can get them accomplished by electing me as your candidate for West Bay Central.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
So, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes, good evening. Good evening, Ms. Hydes. I'll start with you. What are the top 3 national issues you would prioritize if elected, and why?
Great question. I think everybody has been asked that. It is cost of living for sure, affordable housing, and education. Cost of living is a heavy one. We have housing. There's high mortgage rates for those who own homes. Rental, for those who rent, it requires rental control, so we need to implement the Residential and Tenancy Act straight away. And also for electricity, many have said that it is the cost of electricity, but after having a discussion with CUC, we've come to understand that it is not the cost of electricity, the cost of fuel. It is actually needing to have the removal of fuel cost, that is. And that is done by way of ensuring that the hard work that I did as a minister with the National Energy Policy, the implementation plan is now commenced. And that is done through OFREG, through CUC, and through the Ministry of Planning. And in doing this, it affords homeowners right to renewables on their solar rooftops. In addition to that, we have food. Many of us know that there has been an issue with purchasing healthy food, and that is where we need to incentivize healthy eating, backyard farming. We also need to ensure that we look at rezoning some of the agriculture zones in the districts. I've heard constituents complaining that they can't have cows in the district because it's not zoned as agriculture. So there are many things that can be done, and some that have already been done. One of the things that I did as the minister was the implementation of the National Energy Policy. And what that did was that defined utility scale solar. And such places such as primitive farms are now able to provide healthy food at affordable prices. So those are the things that I would do to address cost of living. Housing, affordable housing. That is done by ensuring that we roll out a aggressive plan through the NHDT. We re-implement the GG-HAM program. And then with education, I think we need to focus more on our results. You know, we're focusing more on our outcomes, and we need to focus more on our deliverables for our students. Especially in West Bay Central, we have a lot of students who have SEN. So that's how I would address cost of living.
Thank you. Ms. Hydes?
Hi, thank you for the question. The three top national issues, I would say, is housing, unemployment, and cost of living. The first one I would address is housing. I'm very happy to know that Ms. Ebanks-Wilkes is still for affordable housing, because in 2021, when she came to the chamber debate, this was one of the things she spoke about in regarding the Apple Blossom community. I want the people of West Bay Central to know, yes, she broke ground in almost 1 year ago now. The ground was broken and not one piece of steel has been laid. Those people still remain in those derelict conditions that she spoke to in 2021. So in regards to housing, I would first advocate for the government to perform a housing assessment. That needs to take place, because right now, the government doesn't have a true picture of how many Caymanians are in need of a home. The only figure that we have is the number of applications that the National Housing Trust has received. And that figure, I understand, is 800 plus applications. So, but that still doesn't tell us exactly how many persons are in need of a home. So that's the first thing we need to do. Then the government needs to decide, realistic, how much homes can it build? Because the government doesn't have infinite amount of resources, so we need to determine that as a government. Also, in regards to housing, we don't necessarily need to do a one-floor house. We can consider apartment complexes, those sort of things we can consider when it comes to providing Caymanians with housing. Another thing I would work on is a concessions policy for the developers in this country, because we give a lot of concessions, but Caymanians are not really benefiting from that. In regards to cost of living, things that I would look at are fuel. The duty on fuel, that has to stop for at least 12 to 18 months. Healthcare is another rising cost that we have to address. I will continue when we get around.
Thank you.
Ms. Hydes, we'll start with you for question number 3.
Sure.
West Bay is one of the fastest growing districts with a population of 19,364 people, according to the Spring 2024 Labor Force Survey.
Yes.
Are you concerned about the pace of this growth? And what specific steps would you take to address the infrastructure challenges it creates, particularly in West Bay Central?
Yes. Thank you for that question. I will just end the first question by saying that also things that I would look at for cost of living are the logistics. How are we importing the goods into the island? If we can find more affordable ways to import the goods, that will result in cheaper goods or cheaper costs to the consumer, not cheaper goods. So thank you again for that question. I read the same report, so the figure is quite alarming. I am actually happy to see that West Bay is such a popular community for people that want to live. That tells me two things. People are loving what they get in West Bay. They're loving the interaction with other members of the community. They feel safe. They love the fact that there is little to no traffic in the morning. But what concerns me in regards to the growth, There are a lot of number of apartments that are actually being built. So that means more people will be coming into the District of West Bay. And already we have some traffic issues in West Bay. Early in the morning when people are going to work, I can speak specifically for where I live in Mount Pleasant. When you're leaving to go to work, the traffic is very bad. And because people are going in the opposite direction, you're not able to actually get onto the road as quick as you would like. And the shoulder of the road is very poor. There's really not a shoulder of the road. So the people can't even see the oncoming traffic that is coming. So that is something that has to be addressed as well. But that is what concerns me most with the growth in West Bay, the traffic that is on the road in the mornings and coming back to West Bay in the afternoons. Once you get on the highway, you're fine, but that actual time to get on the highway takes a bit of time.
Thank you, Ms. Hides. Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Thank you. Yes, I am concerned with the pace of growth that we are seeing in West Bay and the island on a whole. The first thing I would do is ensure that as a priority, the government implements a national development plan, something that has been kicked around for far too long. I would also, in the constituency and in the district, I would look especially at our clinic, which has been really maxed out now because of the amount of people that are living in the district. And when we talk about the amount of people living in the district, our primary school, it's bursting at the seams. It's the largest primary school, government primary school on the island. And so the first thing I would do would be looking at rapidly increasing some sort of classroom capacity there at the school because the students are not getting a fair opportunity to thrive in an environment where everyone has the space to learn and grow. And then the other thing I would do to address traffic, because as mentioned, there are a lot more people moving into the district, is as promised by the Minister of Planning, is I would look at recommencing the investigation that was being done about the junction at Badabanu and Reverend Blackman Road. What was being looked at was some sort of traffic calming measure, whether it was a street light, which is what I was hoping for, or some sort of mechanism to ensure the safe flow of traffic in the mornings and in the evenings. And just in wrapping up with talking about planning, I want to just enlighten Ms. Hides that whilst I broke ground with Apple Blossom, the only responsible person to lay blocks in that area falls under the remit of the Ministry of Planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes, I'll start with you again. The cost of living is a top concern for many residents of the Cayman Islands. What specific measures would you take to make life more affordable for residents?
Well, if I would have known I've got that question, I wouldn't have expanded so much at first going off. I think I would probably expand a little bit more. Going back to housing, I would certainly be advocating for trying to roll out almost immediately the GGHAM program, which is now referred to as the HOME program. And what that is, it is a 0% or zero financing, zero down payment, mortgage that the government is subsidizing for persons who can't afford to purchase a home. In addition to that, I would certainly ensure that the Residential and Tenancy Act is passed straight away. We managed to get it all the way to publication, but again, for lack of political will, it was not debated in the House. And with electricity, I think we are now starting to see where people in our country are appreciating the fact that we need to be looking more at renewables. And everybody is talking about fuel costs and getting a discount on fuel prices. But even with CUC's prices, what they educated us the other day is they're paying $3 and change for fuel. So if you take the fuel duty off of that, consumers are not really going to feel it at the end of the month. But if you take away the fuel costs from the consumption of your bill and replace that with a renewable energy charge, or better yet, allow persons to have the right to renewables, which is what the National Energy Policy now affords. Persons can actually get solar panels, put them on their roofs, and not even have to run it to the grid. But again, What has to be finished is the implementation, which requires a cross-ministry approach, which will be rolled out with a government that is able to work together to get things done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hides?
Yes, thank you for that question. Before I give a response, I just wanted to say Ms. Ebanks responded and said that it's the Minister of Planning that's responsible for building those homes in West Bay at Apple Blossoms. Yes, that is correct to a degree, but she is the representative of those people, and she requires to push and fight and ensure those homes are built for those people. They are hurting. They are hurting, and I've seen the conditions that those homes are in. As it relates to cost of living, I shared some of this before. The fuel costs, that is a big thing on people's electricity bills. And what I am proposing is that the duty that's being charged on fuel that's imported into the island be removed for at least 12 to 18 months. That causes the consumer to see at least 4% reduction in their utility bills. Another thing I would do is healthcare. Healthcare is a big factor for many families and individuals. I know personally, I don't have any children, and my healthcare bill is over $500 a month. So it just depends on the carrier that you actually have. So I know that Mr. Saunders, the MP for Bordentown West, brought a motion in regards to a healthcare fund that would allow children under the age of 18 and senior citizens 65 and over to not pay healthcare. So I think he wanted it to be done in 2026, but if elected, I would advocate for that to be sooner because people are hurting. Also, I mentioned before, the essential goods list. That needs to be revisited. Things such as vegetables and fruits are not on the essential goods list. And if they are put on, that will save consumers when they go to the store as well. But to ensure that the consumers benefit from those goods not being charged duty, I would have the supermarkets sign an agreement to ensure that this savings is transferred to the consumers. Ms. Ebanks also mentioned the energy policy. That was passed in 2024, April, and it still has gone nowhere. This is a year later. That policy can save a lot of costs to consumers if implemented. This should not be taking that long to get done.
Well, thank you, candidates. We've gone through the first 4 questions. We're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
EV public charging can be a bit tricky to navigate if you're new to the game. But fear not. Here's a little 101 on all things public charging at your CUC charge station. The first tip is to get the mobile app up and ready on your phone before you charge your EV at the charging location. You can scan the QR code to load the app from sitting in your car. Download the mobile app, register a charge account, load money into your charge wallet. You must have a minimum of US $5 balance in your charge wallet to begin a charging session. Scan the QR code again to start a charging session using this charger. You can also enter the station ID number into the app. Follow the instructions on the mobile app to initiate your charging session. Now you're ready to charge your EV. Select either the right or the left charge plug. Plug your car in and make sure it shows as charging on your dashboard. Charging for 1 hour will give you up to 35 miles of charge. Charging to 80% optimizes battery life and reduces the risk of overcharging. So in that time, you can shop or go to work or chat with fellow EV owners. It's a real community out there. Great to see you, Maya. Happy charging, everyone. See you on the road.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for West Bay Central. Gone through the first 4 questions. Now we'll move on to the next round of 4. We're going to begin with crime and public safety, and I'll turn it over to Omari Corbin.
Thanks, Will. Ms. Hydes, we'll start with you for question number 5. What is your position on crime prevention and community safety in West Bay Central? What policies or initiatives would you support to reduce crime and improve public safety?
Okay, thank you for that question. I'm very happy that you asked that question. During my canvassing, I have spoken to the residents of West Bay Central, and this is one of the things that they brought up that's concerning them, the crime that is occurring in the district of West Bay. For even looking at the police crime and traffic report, they have signaled that crime is on the rise, not just in West Bay, but overall in the Cayman Islands. But relating to West Bay Central and the entire West Bay, there has been a lot of crime, a lot of burglaries and robberies at the convenience stores, at the gas stations. There's a particular store that's located at the 4-way in West Bay that has seen constant robberies. So it's very concerning to me, and I do not support any form of crime. So that is one thing that I would seek to address. And how I would address this would be involving the police, having more police presence around the gas stations, around the commercial locations of various businesses, around the convenience stores, around the restaurants. Make the police be more seen and more visible. That is usually a good deterrent for criminals. Also, what I would do is work with the community policing officers and provide various training and various educational meetings for the people of West Bay, not just West Bay Central, the entire West Bay, and the businesses, to educate them on what to look for, what they should consider to be suspicious in regards to a robbery, how they should act if they get caught up in a robbery or some violent act. So these are things that I would put in place. And also driving around, I see West Bay has a lot of cameras, but I've learned that some of those cameras are not in fact working. So that is another initiative that I would take. And if once elected, I would get those cameras fixed, because cameras bring sort of a reassurance to the community, and it makes it easier for the police to catch the criminals.
Thank you, Ms. Hydes. Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Thank you for the question. For the immediate approach to addressing crime, it would certainly be to continue supporting the police as they focus on the hot spots. We have a few in West Bay Central, and there are other hot spots throughout the district. And Ms. Hyde speaks of the CCTV cameras and some of them not being working. She might not be aware, but the cameras that were not working have been fixed, particularly the ones on Bankers Road, where a lot of activity was taking place. And since those measures have been put in place, the neighborhood seems to be pretty calm. We don't want to say too much now because we know how that goes. But at the end of the day, the long-term approach is what we need to really be talking about. Many people have put aside the Yolandi Ford report, which speaks about enrichment programs and it speaks about youth diversional. In other words, we need to catch our young people before they get into problems. And that is one of the things that I've been doing from the constituency office. I have continued to have, whether it's summer camps that focus on education, on culture, after school programs that focus on students who are struggling with math, learning math with Lego, or reading book clubs. These are things that take our young peoples out of the environments where they could fall into crime. And in addition to that, yes, we need more police presence, and we need to have, a lot of our young Caymanians who are coming out of school encouraged to join the police force, because we all know that long are the days when we had police that everyone in the neighborhood was afraid when they would walk the streets. We need to have more boots on the ground. But at the same time, I don't want to discount what the police are doing, because I know that they are working very hard, and we continue to work with them as elected officials, as civilians, and support them. And we all know that the police fall under the remit of the governor. So the way that a government supports the police is by ensuring that adequate resources are provided to finance what is required to keep us safe.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes, I'll start with you. Do you believe there is sufficient affordable housing in West Bay Central? If not, what would you do to increase access to affordable housing options?
I certainly do not believe that there is enough affordable housing in West Bay Central. West Bay Central has a housing scheme that has been there for 20 years, and it is now dilapidated. We have people sick living in these homes, and as much as you push a minister, all you can do is ensure that the money is put in the budget. And once the money is put in the budget, the minister prioritizes wherever they want to get the work done. How I would encourage more housing would be to follow the report that had been done recently, where it's set out that we have multi-level homes. And that doesn't have to be high, 4 to 5 stories. I think that our young Caymanians, especially those who are working, would be happy to have an apartment complex where they could call their home, to build equity. Mixed living is another thing that we could look at, where we are also finding areas within the community where there's raw land and the government could acquire it and ensure that it is affordable for our young Caymanians. And again, going back to the NHDT home and getting the NHDT programs, getting the data that is required to understand exactly how many Caymanians need homes, and then the government would have a better understanding on how to deliver this in an expeditious fashion, because some of these applicants have been waiting for 10, 15 years. Some of them, I have a constituent who has a child who has special needs and an adult child, and they're all in a 1-bedroom apartment. And these are stories that we hear all around the island. This is not just a West Bay problem. This is a national problem. So that is how I would focus on addressing, making this accessible to many Caymanians quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hydes?
Thank you for that question. It all goes back to political will and heart. I cannot sleep knowing that people are living in those conditions. During my canvassing, I met a gentleman that was sleeping on a hardwood floor, and he was 72 years old. That should not be occurring in our islands. And what did I do? I took immediate action and got that gentleman a bed. A senior citizen in our country sleeping on a hardwood floor. That's unacceptable. And when politicians can go to sleep knowing those kind of things, like the people in Apple Blossom, and feel comfortable, something is wrong. So to answer your question, no, I don't believe that we have sufficient affordable housing in West Bay. if the people of West Bay Central honor me with the privilege of serving them, one of the first things I will do is I will get those homes in Apple Blossom built. Yes, there's a minister that's responsible for ensuring that's prioritized, but I can tell you it will be prioritized because they will be seeing me knock on their doors, because I am not going to rest until those people have proper housing. It is ridiculous how they are sleeping in that room, in those rooms. And another thing, how we can do affordable housing, I've actually identified property that the government could purchase to build more affordable homes for individuals. That's another way that we can increase the number of affordable homes in this island, in particular for West Bay.
Thank you.
So the last 4 questions covered the Chamber Pillar of Advancing Quality of Life. The next 3 questions will cover the Chamber Pillar of Building a Future-Ready Workforce. Ms. Hydes, we'll start with you for question number 7. The Immigration White Paper proposes several significant changes. Which recommendations do you support or oppose? And if elected, would you seek to implement any reforms in your first year?
Thank you for that question. First and foremost, an immigration reform cannot take place without also reforming the Labor Act alongside of it. Those two have to be done together. They're very connected. So in order for a successful immigration reform, we also have to reform the Labor Act at the same time. In regards to the white paper that you mentioned, there are a few things in there that I do support. One of them being the changing of the name to Caymanian Protection. I would support that returning to this country, because when we had the Cayman Protection Law, it was strong and it did protect our citizens. But I will caveat that by saying we can't just change the name. We need to ensure that the information that is in the legislation has the relevant teeth in order to protect the Caymanian people. The other amendment that is being proposed, is a loophole that I've spoke about for a very long time. And that is the loophole where expats are working for the private sector and they're getting near rollover. They leave that job, apply for a job in the government, they get that job, and they're not susceptible to the rollover. So I definitely support the change in that, because the change is suggesting if they leave their private sector job, they have to return home for a year. Another thing that I support is there's a caregiver's certificate that is mentioned in the white paper. I would support a caregiver's certificate because there are many Caymanians that have family members that are in need of specialists, and they grow very fond of these individuals. So I would support a specialist certificate, a caregiving specialist certificate.
Thank you, Ms. Hydes. Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Thank you. I would certainly, in principle, support an immigration reform. And as I'm still a member of Parliament, I can speak to the discussions that took place while I was there. And certainly to have seen a white paper roll out just a few weeks before nomination day without proper public communication or education speaks to why a lot of the changes that we try to achieve in our country are unachievable, or they're not supported by a lot of members in the public. It has a lot to do with lack of education to the people, because the government is not doing their part with getting the information across to our citizens. One of the changes in that white paper that I would support would be the rollover policy that was proposed and heavily discussed as it relates to the civil service, and the way in which we can address some of the reasons why it wasn't implemented would be perhaps taking a phased approach as well as looking at positions where there are certain agencies within government that they feel that they don't have the adequate Caymanians trained right now, perhaps to have temporary exemptions once there is a training plan put in place for Caymanians to follow in. And what I would like to see, and what the Caymanian Community Party has taken a position on, is we would like to see immigration reform, but one that takes a consultative process with our people, because decisions are being made. All of these consultants we're spending tons of money on consultants, and in the end, the people of this country are still not happy with the decisions that we're seeing coming out of some of these papers and reports.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes, I'll start with you again. Are you satisfied with the current state of public education in the Cayman Islands and recent student performance results? If not, what specific actions would you take to enhance academic and technical outcomes, ensuring our students are well prepared to enter the workforce?
I'm not happy with the results that we're seeing coming out of our public schools. Whilst we've seen improvements from a primary school level, we are still having many of our students coming through the primary schools and still not being able to read and write. And I see that firsthand with having them come to my constituency office for learning support. And one of the things that I would like to continue championing in West Bay would be to see more early childhood education afforded to the citizens around the country. We've seen a pilot program rolled out in East End where there is a nursery that has now been provided to the citizens of the district, and that is something that I would like to see rolled out in West Bay. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, our primary school is bursting at the seams, and we have many students who have learning setbacks, who are not being identified quick enough, who are not getting their testing, so they're not determining what sort of support or therapies they need. And studies have proven that a child can function in mainstream school, whether they have ADHD or ADD or even autism, if they are identified at an early age and they're given the therapies at an aggressive fashion while they're young. So that would be the first thing that I would address. What I would also address is having a clear pathway for students who may not necessarily be academically inclined. And we've seen the technical vocational training framework. That is something that I would want to champion, because I especially see it in West Bay Central. Many of our young people graduate from high school. They don't want to be doctors, lawyers, or bankers. They want to use their hands, and we're not having the pathway for them to be able to walk on a construction site and gain not just entry-level positions, but positions that are available to our Caymanian people, but they're not accessing them because they're not properly trained. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hydes?
Thank you for the question. In relation to being satisfied with the performance of student results, the answer to that is no. Clear no. The reason being this alarms me so much is when I did some research, every school that has been inspected just about received a satisfactory or a good rating. And the two does not correlate. How can a school have a good or a satisfactory rating and they're producing students that are not passing minimum requirements? As Ms. Ebanks-Wilkes said a few minutes ago, they're coming out of school and can't even read and write in some cases. This subject is very near and dear to me because I have a little cousin that is in primary school. And they wanted to take her and put her in the Lighthouse School because she was not performing. They didn't once try to figure out why she was not performing. And we come to find out that she had polyps in her ears. And once that was resolved, she started to catch up very fast and understand the work and was be able to respond because she couldn't hear because of the polyps. So no, I'm not satisfied with the results that our students are producing. Another thing I would work on, if elected by the people of West Bay Central, is the National Trade School. Mr. Ralston Anglin, when he was a minister, that was a part of his plan, that CIFEC not only be where kids can go to pass their grades on English and math, but the second phase was for CIFEC to be the National Trade School. And I think that is a great idea because many of our kids, they are not into sitting behind a desk. They want to do construction, they want to do IT stuff, they want to build cars, they want to be plumbers. So I think that is a good way for them to do that.
Gone through 2 rounds of questions. 8 questions have been asked and answered. Now we have the final round of questions coming up. So we're going to take a short commercial break, and please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
In the Cayman Islands, our habitats, including coral reefs, coastlines, and mangroves, are all dependent on one another. Our economy is no different. From people to businesses, right through to government, it's all connected. And just like everyone wants a healthy ecosystem, everyone wants a healthy economy too. Cayman is a top-ranked international financial center and domicile for captives, investment funds, and pensions worldwide. And our biggest economic contributor? Construction, you ask? Not quite. Tourism? Close. It's true that we're a country of consumers, and the more people we have using our services, the more money we make. But our actual greatest economic contributor is our world-class financial services. Long ago, we had a simple economy. One person has fish, another person needs to eat. That's a transaction. Now imagine that instead of fish, it's a boat, a house, or a car, or a fleet, or business you can earn on. That's investment. But what if you're in Canada and your investment is based in China? Whose rules and regulation do you use? Cayman maintains a high level of integrity with a stable government and a UK-based legal system, globally respected for fairness. That's why so many countries choose us for these transactions. The more transactions we do, the more specialized we become, and the more our economy grows. The result? Cayman is now home to many of the world's top accountants, law firms, banks, fiduciary firms, and administrators. Unlike most countries, Cayman doesn't add an extra layer of taxes on top of tax paid in an investor's home country. That way, there's no duplication of taxation. Instead, our financial services fees ensures constant investment in our professional sector's exceptional service. Cayman's tax-neutral status combats tax evasion with legislation, regulation, and more, ensuring the highest international standards for transparency and cross-border cooperation and attracting reputable investors. All these factors make the Cayman Islands an ideal and trusted international financial center.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of West Bay Central. Gone through the first 8 questions. The final round of questions, and we're going to begin on the topic of National Human Capital Development Plan. I'll turn it over to Amari Corbin.
Thanks, Will. Ms. Hydes, we'll start with you for question number 9, which is the last question on our pillar of building a future-ready workforce. Do you support the development of a National Human Capital Development Plan? If yes, which industry positions, if any, would you restrict as being reserved for Caymanians only?
Thank you for that question. I think it's do I support a development of a national human capital development plan? The answer for that is a resounding yes. Cayman needs a development plan for its human capital. Right now, we have thousands, I can't give the exact figure, I have a lot of figures going through my head at this moment, but we have thousands of people here on work permits. And we have Caymanians that are unemployed. We need to develop our people and get our people into those positions. Now, when it comes to positions, I would say there are many positions that Caymanians can hold. Secretarial positions, administrative positions, senior management positions Caymanians can hold, but they are not being given the proper training and the proper opportunity to fill those positions. So what I would say to that is those are the positions that those are some, I would say, of the positions that I would allot for Caymanians only. However, there are a lot more. For example, there is the Wildlife Interaction Zone, better known as WIZ license. Those businesses, those licenses should be for Caymanians only. Right now, that is not the case. And once again, this is something that Ms. Ebanks-Wilkes promised the water sports operators that she would address and deal with. And in speaking to them, they've advised me that the task force was never set up and nothing was done. These are the kind of things we need to address in this country. So yes, we do need a human capital development plan, but it has to be a plan that benefits our Caymanians. We already have something called the business staffing plan that is supposed to assign a Caymanian to a work permit holder, and when that work permit expires, that Caymanian is supposed to be trained, but that is not happening currently, and it needs to happen.
Thank you, Ms. Hides. Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes?
Thank you. Yes, I would support the development of a national human capital development plan. The industry positions that right off the bat, I would say, without going back to the public, which again is something that often happens, but based on feedback from constituents and just industry discussions while being an MP, certainly not just WIS license, but anybody in the water sports industry. Also, real estate and small construction companies are areas right off the bat without having to go and do any research or have any consultants come and tell us. These are areas where we no longer have a need for foreign participation. One of the things that needs to happen is ensuring that partnership with immigration and education takes place. This is something that we're seeing where there is not cohesion with students who are coming out of high school. There's not enough data to ensure that the students who are coming into the workforce are given opportunities to train. And this is what a national development, a human capital development plan would offer. And just to speak to the concerns that Ms. Hyde says the water sports operators have raised, again, when you're working in government, it's not just you can walk in on day one and fix everything that you want to fix. Yes, I was the minister responsible for environment for 11 months, and I dealt with the dump. I dealt with the National Conservation Act. Yes, I started looking at the WIS license, and you know what? It also requires the Department of Commerce. It requires work with ports and also tourism. I thought I could have walked in and changed it myself. But right now, work is being undertaken by those ministries and agencies as they are looking at refining a license regime that should initiate from ports rather than from DCI. So that's how I would address and support the implementation of a national human capital development plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
We are transitioning to the Chamber pillar, Sustaining Economic Success. Successive governments have tried but failed to update the National Development Plan for over 2 decades. Should this be a top priority for the next government? And how would you approach the process, Ms. Ebanks-Wilkes?
Oh, wow, great. Yes, this should be a top priority for the next government. And the first thing that I would do is to remove the silos between the department and the Ministry of Planning and the department and ministry that's responsible for environment. Both of these ministries work closely together if we ever will see the implementation of a national development plan. And so how I would address it is I would ensure that it is not driven by one particular ministry, but it is driven by a cross-ministry approach. The National Development Plan addresses many of things from the capacity or the population of the persons that we have here in the country. It also addresses stormwater management. It has a myriad of issues that we are not talking about as a country. And what we've seen over time and time again is that we wait until we have water washing into someone's home and then we realize we have a problem. Cayman Islands, this is something that needs to be rolled out right away. And that's how I would approach it, by bringing the two ministries that fight the most together, who are responsible for this plan, and having it championed by them together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. You are correct. Have been successive governments that have tried to roll out a national development plan, and for whatever reason, they were not successful. This is something that I would actually champion once elected in the District of West Bay Central. In the district, I have seen for the past few years, every time there's a heavy rain, there are particular places that flood. And I mean, flood beyond capacity, and the water doesn't move anywhere for days and weeks. This is a health issue occurring because of the mosquitoes and everything that happens there. And it's not only West Bay, but I'm speaking about West Bay because that is where I am trying to become the MP for. So the National Development Plan looks at things like that. Flooding, it just really bothers me a lot to see flooding taking place, people talking about, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, and nothing is done. And the people are impacted by that. Their yards, their properties. I mean, you go there, you see moss growing in the water, that sort of stuff. So we need this national development plan, but we also need a plan to deal with the flooding that occurs in West Bay. The animals, they were in the water for days, weeks, months. These sort of things shouldn't be happening in our small island. And it goes back to political will to get things resolved. I know it's not easy, but you have to have the determination to fight and get these things done for the people. And these things have been happening for years now, not just recently. This has been happening for years.
Thank you.
Ms. Hydes, we'll start with you for question number 11. Cruise tourism in 2024 declined by approximately 45% compared to 2019 and by 15% from 2023, impacting attendance at the Cayman Turtle Center, which receives $6 million in annual public funding. What is your perspective on the current state of cruise tourism and the ongoing support of the Cayman Turtle Center? Kindly explain your recommended way forward.
Thank you for that question. I will say here tonight at this forum that I fully support the cruise industry. It is a vital part of who we are as a Caymanian people. We have significant amount of Caymanians that rely on this industry. They own businesses, and they're Caymanians who are employed by the Caymanian-owned businesses that rely on the cruise industry. And I concur with your findings because I have read similar findings where the cruise industry is dwindling. The information that I read said that basically in 2024, we've lost between 17 and 420,000 persons to visit these islands because the cruise ships are building bigger vessels and they are bypassing the Cayman Islands. We have to think about our people. Our people rely on this industry. And in regards to the Turtle Center, obviously, if the number of the cruise ship visitors are dwindling, that is going to impact the Turtle Center as well, because the people on the cruise ships, they usually take the bus and the tour operators and they go to the Turtle Center. I am in full support of the Turtle Center. There are Caymanians working there as well that rely on the cruise ships. So going forward, I will try to work with the cruise industry to see how we can increase the numbers of the cruise ships that come here. I know that some of the bigger ones, my apologies, Cayman Islands. Some of the bigger ships have stopped coming to these islands. But we, as a government, need to talk, bring all the stakeholders to the table and have a conversation and fight. That's what we need to do, fight for our people.
Thank you, Ms. Hides. Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Thank you. We all know that the cruise numbers are declining, and it is important, especially with a constituency that relies heavily on cruise tourism, that this matter is a focus and a priority on the next government. As it relates to supporting the Cayman Turtle Center, again, I just want to say that this highlights the fact that we have a poorly planned referendum, because conversations were discussed about the potential of looking at areas like outside of the turtle farm where the birthing facility could be installed. But right now, you have a referendum rolled out to the public weeks before an election with no idea at all to the voters on where exactly this proposed birthing facility would be installed. And as it relates to supporting the Tourism Turtle Center, this was discussed that it would be a way to improve the visitor experience and certainly improve the amount of visitors that are coming to the Turtle Center. But right now, that's something that we don't know because the business case was never completed. And so because you don't have that information, we can't quite say if that is indeed where the birthing facility would best be placed. So as it relates to improving the Turtle Center, that would be a way. There's been other discussions about, making it a conservation area where we have indigenous turtles and getting funding from, Darwin or some of the other EU entities that would support these environmental approaches. But again, that would require cooperation between the Turtle Center and the Department of Environment. Sorry, Department of Environment. Just wanted to make sure got the right people. Thank you very much. That is how I would address the state of play for the Cayman Turtle Center.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes.
Going on to our last question, Mrs. Ebanks-Wilkes. The financial services sector generates over 50% of the Cayman Islands' GDP, yet receives significantly less government support for promotion compared to competing jurisdictions. Do you support increasing funding to strengthen the sector and ensure its continued growth?
Absolutely. Yes, I do support increasing the funding to strengthen the sector and ensure that it does continue to grow. My very first role was parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Financial Services, and I got to see firsthand how important it was to have the additional funding that was used to support the Monetary Authority, who is our regulator and needs to always be continually evolving. We're seeing where you have virtual assets. That's a space that could offer a significant increase or even maybe a different source of revenue, perhaps maybe even be a new pillar. And in order for us to tap into these areas, financial services then needs the resources to train, hire, and compete with other jurisdictions. So that is how I would certainly support the financial sector industry. And I want to say that when we look at our government budget, it is what we rely on. It is what is keeping this country going. Financial services is probably one of the most primary areas of revenue that the government is bringing in right now. So we need to spend money to make money. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hides?
Hi, thank you for that question. The answer to that question is yes, I would support increasing the funding to strengthen the financial services sector. What Ms. Ebanks was referring to a few minutes ago was actually economic growth. We have two key pillars in this community: financial services and tourism. They are the bread and butter of this country. Without them, there is no economic growth. Government cannot receive fees if these two industries are not flourishing, and they are. So we need to put focus on financial services and tourism. I do want to encourage different areas of growth, but we're doing that already through the Cayman, can't remember the name though, economic zone, sorry, the Cayman economic zone. They are doing things such as blockchain. They're doing different things with funds, with crypto, and those sort of things. So we're already exploring different industries. But the two that is going to give us economic growth is financial services and tourism. So that is where our money should be spent, to grow those industries, to train individuals in those industries so that we continue to be successful. Another thing that I would do to grow the financial sector is encourage entrepreneurships. Cayman is a place where it does not promote and encourage entrepreneurships the way that it should. We can do this because to be an entrepreneur, the biggest challenge that they have is actually obtaining capital to fund that business. But we can resolve that problem by creating an incentive so that people will invest in those entrepreneurial businesses. So these are things that we can do to continue economic growth, and certainly we need to invest more money in the financial services industry.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Gone through 12 questions. Now we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll have the closing remarks from each of our candidates. Please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy-saving tips from CUC, so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forums for the constituency of West Bay Central. gone through 12 questions. Now it's the time in the evening when we're going to have closing remarks from each of our candidates. And we're going to begin with Ms. Jewel Hides.
Thank you. I want to say thanks to the Chamber for hosting this event again. I really enjoyed it. West Bay Central, I'm going to read my closing statement because I want to ensure that I don't miss some key points that I want to make. I want to start off with a quote. The job of a member of parliament is not simply about policy positions. It's about the ability to get things done. This is a quote that was made by Ms. Ebanks-Wilkes in 2022. So you have to ask yourselves, has she lived up to that quote? West Bay Central, the time has come for us to make a choice about the future of our constituency and our country. The choice is clear. We need leadership that shows up, listens, and delivers. In 2021, the current MP made many promises to you, the West Bay Central constituency, and the wider Cayman Islands at the same said Chamber Forum. But what did she accomplish for you? The answer is very evident. Very little. Cost of living remains unbearably high. Unemployment in West Bay Central is still a major issue. Families in Apple Blossom continue to live in deplorable conditions. The Golden Age home remains overcrowded. Affordable housing is still very limited in the district. 4 years ago, you were promised action, but what did you get? A representative who resigned from cabinet without even informing you, her constituents. A representative who had 4 years to make a difference, but failed to do so. A representative who put herself before the people of West Bay Central and the country. She didn't deliver then, and she won't deliver now. The time for broken promises is over. The time for action is now. The problems we face aren't impossible to fix. They just require leadership with determination, courage, and a true love for our people. West Bay Central, I promise to work tirelessly for you and to bring real solutions and create prosperity for you and your family. On April the 30th, West Bay, vote for the candidate who will work for you. Vote for the candidate who will bring you real results. Number 2, that is the leader who will bring you results.
Mrs. Catherine Ebanks-Wilkes.
Thank you, Will, Omari, and Joanne, and to the Chamber for hosting tonight's event. West Bay Central and the Cayman Islands, it has certainly been an honor for me to have served for these past 4 years, and it will be an honor to serve again. These past 4 years, I have been able to display to this country that when the Cayman Islands needed me, I was there. When the Speaker of Parliament was asked to resign and there was no plan for an outside speaker, I stepped in. When 2 members of the government quit to join the opposition, leaving the country with a hung parliament, no budget, and a very high chance of an early election, I resigned as Speaker to maintain stability in this country. And when the cabinet that I was once a part of were making decisions that were focusing on special interests and not your interests, the Cayman Islands, I upheld my manifesto promise from 2021, which set out that any decision that I made would be in your best interests. And so as a result of that, I have proven to be a selfless leader, quite opposite to what my opponent has tried to insinuate that I am. And my calm demeanor is often misunderstood for weakness, but I have displayed to this country. I have caused the dump deal, which would have straddled our country in $2 billion of debt, to fall away. It needs to be revisited urgently. but retendering and much more affordable. I have sat in a cabinet for over 7 months and refused to bring a legislation that was going to promote unfettered development. That is leadership that has integrity at the front of it. That is leadership that puts you first. Yes, tangible things are nice. My opponent talks about the chamber debate. I came here as an independent and shared my positions, but I walked in as an independent with a group of people and discovered very quickly that if you don't have an organized group with organized strategies, with organized objectives, it is going to be very difficult to get things done. West Bay Central, I have a proven track record of putting you first. On the 30th of April, vote number 1, Catherine Ebanks Wilkes, the only candidate on that ballot paper that has a proven track record in this capacity to lead with integrity and to put you first. Thank you.
Well, thank you, candidates. I'm now going to turn it over to Chamber President Omari Corbin for some closing remarks.
Thanks, Will. On behalf of the Chamber Council and staff, I would like to thank Ms. Jewel Hides and Mrs. Catherine Ebanks Wilkes for participating in this evening's forum. I trust that this forum will help West Bay Central voters make informed decisions about who to vote for when they go to the polls on April 30th. I would also like to thank Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for sponsoring the Chamber's candidate forums. Please join us tomorrow evening as we welcome the 4 candidates from West Bay North: Ralston Anglin, Shakina Bush, Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston, and Jordan Rivers. Please note that all forums will be posted to the Chamber's YouTube channel for your future reference. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you will join us tomorrow evening, and please have a restful night.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.